With infinite complacence, people went to and fro over the earth about their little affairs, serene in the assurance of their dominion over this small, spinning fragment of solar driftwood, which by chance or design man has inherited out of the dark mystery of time and space.
On this episode of Into the Fray, I welcome back on with me Mark Muncy and Erika Lance, and they are, of course, with the podcast Eerie Travels, and this is part 13 of our coverage of their newly released book, The Dark Side of the Smoky Mountains. Ta-da! Welcome back, guys. So, part 1, of course, was episode 500. Part 2 was episode 507 if you want to go back. And I'll go ahead and say again that each one of these episodes really just covers a tiny little grab bag of what is in this book. These guys really took the time to go down the line and essentially go to every one of these places. Yeah, it's a biggin. It's a biggin, folks. So much we do not even cover, even in a 3-part series with The Dark Side of the Smoky Mountains. So I did say hello to you, and I said, my goodness, you guys have been busy. You've been going to conferences, signing books, taking photos with the folks. So, and I know that it is essentially conference season. So anything else coming up that folks could go to?
You got to go to our events page on eerietravels.com, because this is what me and Mark like to call we're never home season. So full of many, many things, including the Mothman Festival, which is coming up, Dragon Con. We are actually going to be doing a couple live podcasts from Dragon Con, so that's super exciting in some of the ballrooms. We have the Tennessee Bigfoot Conference, right?
We just had that, and we sold out of the new book there, so we had to get more on order. And we've got the West North Carolina Bigfoot. That's probably, by the time this airs, that's probably already gone. Yeah. But yeah, just go to eerietravels.com. You can see where we're going to be. We had a huge book launch. We've had so much fun with this. It's crazy, and it just keeps getting wilder and weirder, which, nothing wrong with that. That's part of the fun. And I think also, to go back to, we were the first to do this, first to do that. I think way back when, we were the first on your Patreon chats. I think that was me and Carrie, if I recall.
Yes, it was.
Way back.
And Carrie was doing, live drawings and stuff. It was awesome. Yeah. Every time she'd be on, we would be chatting, covering the stories, and then she would just be, she calls them, I know she's one of these, like, oh, I'm just sketching away. And I'm going, not in 10 years of practicing. Could I just draw what you call a sketch?
Yeah. And she does that in all the books. When people buy them and we're at events and stuff, she sketches in them for everybody. If you're there with her, or if you order off the website or whatever, she always puts the talent in it, and I just write some gobbledygook words.
Oh, sure.
And Erika signs it too. It's great.
And I sign the books. I write some too, but I don't consider the words gobbledygook. No, somebody needs to keep Mark in line. What?
Yeah, a little bit too much of the humble pie on Mark's end there. We do not call any of your books gobbledygook. All right, guys. Well, I went through essentially the last half of the book. There was still so much left that I had to choose from. And again, it was a little difficult, but hey, I made it happen and whittled it down. And I would like to start with Church of the Redeemer.
Oh,
yes. This has one of my favorite kind of ghosts in it, and an Uber driver. So that's
an Uber. You can't go wrong with that. Now this is in Asheville, and this is way up high. This almost got flooded, but it's high enough that it wasn't really in danger during Halloween. So thankfully, Erika and I went to this one on our Asheville trip that we did post-Aline to make sure everything was still operational and all that. And we'd already done the trip before everything. So it's built in 1886. It's this just beautiful Episcopal church, very still Roman.
Operational, absolutely still operational.
It is still operational. It's kind of in the Woodfin area, and it's got like Tiffany glass windows. It's beautiful.
It is gorgeous. And it's absolutely breathtaking.
Yeah, there was a big mansion in the area, and this was the church for it. And then, the mansion burned down, but the church is still there. And it's got a beautiful graveyard out back and these big stairs going down, right, Erika? That's the ones that go all the way down to the road almost.
It is a walk up them. Mark's like, we should walk up the stairs. And I'm like, you can walk up the stairs.
Are you guys thinking of The Exorcist? You're like, don't go near those stairs that are long and dangerous.
Yeah, they're into the hill, so it's not quite that claustrophobic you get at The Exorcist stairs, but that's me. I wanted to go up the stairs because that's where the ghost is seen. We've got a lady in white.
Yes, yes.
And Erika, how many ladies in white have we covered between the podcast, the books?
Yeah, so many. And I really do feel that the lady in white is something more than just a specific ghost. I think it's a kind of entity of some kind, because every culture in the world has them, and they usually try to attribute them to this is Sally or this is this person, but they usually are wearing the white dress, darker hair. Sometimes they're wet and they're near water. Now, here's the thing. There's a river that runs right near this church. So it's right near the water. Like, it ticks every single box. So that I could go on a deep dive on the ladies in white, but yes, she is a lady in white. But I love the story from the Uber driver who saw her, which is very funny, because it's not like, well, in 1946, because she's been seen for years and years and years, but an Uber driver showed up to pick up a passenger, and
he's sitting there and he sees this bride coming down the stairs, as he thought. His quote was, "At first I thought they're just in some wedding at the church that day, but it was a warm March morning, flowers in bloom." And where is it? He said, "Oh yeah, I had arrived. No one had left the church just yet. And when I looked up, I saw her. She looked like she was just walking and looking at the flowers as she strolled right down in front of me, and then right across the road to the French Broad River." He's like, "I was glad nobody was driving by, because he rolled down the window to see if she was okay. And as soon as she crossed the river, poof, gone." And his quote, "I freaked out." And, and then his writer shows up and he's just like, that's about.
There was never a wedding. So.
Yeah, don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, so, and then he didn't talk about it for years until he started hearing more about, people have seen her, this lady in white, this figure. And then he's like, oh, okay. He actually heard it on a ghost tour. And there are a few great ghost tours in Asheville, and can't go wrong with that. That's how we share the stories. We keep them alive. Doing these podcasts. It's what it's all about. Otherwise they disappear, and then somebody sees it and goes, "Oh, I don't want to talk about it." But now maybe they'll come forward and we'll get more data, more chance to investigate these things.
So that's pretty cool. So he happened to be gone on a ghost tour, and he hears this story and he goes, "Oh my gosh, I saw her. I saw that woman. That's incredible."
It helps, because I think it's really easy for people to discount experiences like that, because there's some part of your brain that can't kind of register that this event happened to you. And then when you go to tell people, if the first reaction is like, yeah, you're imagining things, you don't ever want to say it again, because then you sound like a crazy person. Unlike me and Mark, who devoted our lives to sounding like crazy people.
Amen to that. Well, and what's funny is that story almost turned into a vanishing hitchhiker situation if she actually ended up getting into the Uber. Is the thought that when she's seen, is it more of a residual type of a haunting where that's her path each time?
Yeah, the only difference is that sometimes she's looking at flowers and sometimes she just walks down the hill. If there's no flowers in bloom, she just walks down the hill. So I think there's something there where it's a little more some cognition of what's going on, but it still seems more like stone tape residual. They're stone steps. Yeah. So, maybe that's part of it, but I'm not sure. That's another one I think needs more investigation. And now that we have it documented even recently, I think some paranormal teams are going to get out there in no time just to look into that.
So how much of her story do we know?
That's the problem. There is no recorded deaths there. There are no, I mean, that area, all of Asheville has got lots of crazy history and all that. But that particular church, nothing untoward as far as we can tell. Now, the mansion there might have hid some things. You know, it's common. You know, we don't always want to broadcast, oh, such and such fell down the stairs or such and such ran away from a wedding. It sounds like an emotional thing there. It's not necessarily a ghost, a person died there. This is definitely someone who fled the church or just left the church, possibly on their wedding day or something like that. There are tons of weddings, and there were some reports of, what they got runaway brides, but just a couple.
She's kind of casual about it. She's not running, just meandering. And that's why I said, I think the woman in white is some kind of manifestation of, like what Mark said, like a particular emotion tied to something that creates this lady in white manifestation, because people always, like I said, they want to attribute it to a specific person, but who knows? It could be somebody who's buried there, because a lot of times women were buried in their wedding dresses and stuff like that in different time periods, depending on when they died and things. So who knows?
A lot of people who talk to us about spotting ghosts and spotting paranormal, including one of my experiences, it was very much like looking at a black and white photo. And so maybe that's why they're white. It's just because they're standing out against the thing. It just, their faded color. It's interesting. We don't know the human perception of this stuff. That's part of why we want this studied.
Exactly.
I just love that it sums up so many of these types of experiences. The Uber driver's just like, I freaked out. And in scene, like we all get that, right? It's just your brain is just trying to process this, like you were saying earlier, Eric, and it's just sometimes the synapses are going, I can't really put this into a quote unquote normal box.
Yeah, well, this is one of those ones where Mark also went, okay, let's walk up the stairs, and we start walking up, and then midway up he goes, so the ghost is seen on the stairs, and I was like, no, thank you. I'm going to go get back in the car. You are welcome.
Yeah. You're like, I need to go and look into one of Erika's eats and Erika's sleeps that we're putting in the book. See ya.
Yeah. I'll go be there. You let me know when you're done with the haunted staircase and Ghostville.
Yeah. Where's that pub with the new drink that I want to try? Yeah. Okay.
Amen to that.
I think that's exactly what you said.
Yep. And I'm out. See, he tricks me this way. So
look at this beautiful church. It's historical. Let's go.
It is gorgeous. And I will say, honestly, I didn't get any like truly negative vibes or anything like it's very peaceful. Like it is a very serene, peaceful church. It's not creepy or weird, and it's beautifully kept. And they have the original staircase. So I think that's part of it too, is it's not trying to go through whatever pattern it goes through on something that was moved. And I think we run into that a lot of times when people have redone things in places, is it's weird and the ghost can be seen blah, but that actually used to be something else, right? Where this staircase still perfectly stone and intact, probably from when they originally built it.
Yeah, and open, which is cool. We don't hear that a lot of times. A lot of times it's just this dilapidated building.
And those Tiffany glass windows are just stunning.
Oh,
yeah, pictures of all of this have been taken by these guys while they were on their travels for the research for this book. So you're going to see photos of all of these places when possible, because they don't go traipsing around and trespassing in areas or anything like that. So Erika's showing it off
beautiful,
right there.
Shot from Carrie. And then the hardcover, they're in color.
They're in color. Yeah. If you get the hardcover, the entire inside of the book is in color.
BEA, beautiful. Okay, next up, guys, Highland Hospital.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I'm good. I can hard pass on this one. No, just kidding.
This has got one of our producer from our podcast, Bo. This is like her favorite thing in the world is The Great Gatsby.
Yes.
If you ever want to make Bo happy, send her a copy of The Great Gatsby. She collects, it's got a bookshelf of nothing but different versions of The Great Gatsby. So yeah, we're going to tie in The Great Gatsby here. So this was originally founded as Dr. Carroll's Sanatorium in 1904. And Dr. Carroll there, he had moved to Asheville and it was the Highland Hospital suddenly in 1909. And that's, was renamed to that. And he gave Duke University his hospital and his treatment program for addiction and mental illness and, just other disorders like that. And it got people from all over the world to come to this place. It was internationally famous.
And there was a lot of, what's interesting about North Carolina is there's a lot of sanitariums and stuff like that have been, like this has been, and we mentioned some others in the book where this seemed to be the area in like the eastern part of Tennessee to create this. And I think it's because the weather's amazing.
Yeah, North Carolina, eastern Tennessee, North Carolina, western North Carolina. There's a lot of hot springs. There's a lot of sulfur springs. And everybody thought, oh, that's going to heal you of all your tuberculosis and all your other problems. And so all these wellness centers open, these sanitariums, all that, all over the mountains. Now, their most famous guest, 1936, Zelda Fitzgerald. She checks herself in because she's had exhaustion. And her husband, F. Scott Fitzgerald, and he also checked her in a couple times because of nervous exhaustion, and she'd been hearing voices. She wrote a novel, What Saved Me the Waltz, and that was kind of autobiographical of her. And it was her stay at a couple there outside Baltimore, but now she's here. What happened in
there was a fun story with how they decided to staff this hospital.
Yeah,
they made very poor choices.
Yeah, Dr. Carroll, he had some very questionable practices.
He did, but didn't he also staff it with patients that were cured?
He hired cured patients, ones that were, they turned them into staff members. I'm assuming it was just a cost-effective strategy. But this guy also did like electroshock, the insulin therapy, all the terrible things. But now his staff, with the infamous Willie Mae Hall. She was a night supervisor at the hospital. The one she didn't like, she would give a double sedative to because they were the problem people. Don't want to deal with this one. Let's give it a double sedative. And then
lock them in their rooms.
Lock them in their room. Which, as we will know, is not a good thing. It's so March 10th, she has a break in many ways. She's cured. Well, apparently not. She cut all the phone lines in the building, then went down to the kitchen and starts a fire. Because it's the dumbwaiter and everything, it spreads instantly to the rest of the hospital. It's insane. And many were locked in their rooms because the one she didn't like, so they couldn't get them out. So 9 female patients totally sedated, probably slept through a big chunk of it. But they died. They were only able to identify Zelda because her famous slippers that she wore there. And they figured out it was Zelda. Man, it was just bad. So Duke University, they kept the property. They rebuilt a big chunk of it, kept it till the 1980s. And now it is a recovery home for teens and young adults. So now only direct family members are allowed to go there. You cannot go ghost hunting in this place. But the neighborhood is still there. And you can go out to the park outside it. And that's where Zelda is seen. And she is out walking, dressed in a robe. She looks like some just lost elderly lady. And people go up to her. And this is the thing. When they go up to her, she's kind of like talking to somebody not there. And so people think, oh, she's, got an issue, some sort of, mental health issue. But then she'll look at them and she'll try to talk to you like she's trying to remember you or something. And then just gone, fades away. Like literally tunes out. Nobody says just a blink like most these stories we hear. They blink an eye and they're just gone, vanish. This is a fade away.
Well, she's going to leave in dramatic fashion, as should be appropriate with her.
Yeah.
So obviously, when she's talking to these folks, she's quite solid. She's not see-through or anything to indicate there's anything strange going on until she starts to fade out.
Yep.
Wow.
That's like I said, everybody walks right up to her, not realizing anything amiss. They're just worried about this lady walking around. And now Asheville has a strong population of people of issues, and financially, physically, mentally, because we had the hurricane, destroyed a lot of businesses. So there are a lot of displaced people. Yeah, trying to find new homes and trying to just make ends meet. This was part of the opioid epidemic right in this area too. So there's a lot of issues with that. And that's why it's so nice that Highland Hospital is now Highland Park and the area to help these people. But that also means there's a lot of people just wandering around. So that's why they just think, oh, this is just some lady that's, might need help. I'll give her a few bucks. I'll bring her a sandwich or a drink. And then she's just not quite. And part of me is wondering if there's some temporal displacement here. Like she's having conversations with somebody in the past and trying to figure out what's going on in the future. That might be part of her problems from back then. Was that she was slipping through time a little bit. I like to think that's my little theory on it, but no science on that. That's just I think it's literary.
Well,
literary embellishment.
She was such a prolific figure. And it's a horrific tragedy to have something like this happen to somebody like that. But I think it's fascinating when you encounter something, multiple people have encountered her. And like I said, kind of like hitchhiking ghosts that appear very solid until they disappear and leave wet stains in cars and stuff like that. She very much seems like she's having a conversation, and then it's almost like she thinks you're somebody that she should know, like maybe a nurse or something like that would normally help her back to the hospital to treat her exhaustion. One thing I will throw in here is they do no longer do the electric shock and all the other treatments that were not really good treatments for anybody. They do modern help for people with addiction. Yeah. But if you want a little piece of the Great Gatsby, you can find it there in Asheville.
There's a lot of F. Scott Fitzgerald stuff in Asheville. The Jackson building has the memorial to him, and even his father's stuff's there too. So
I wonder if it's at the point when she asks for something or is offered something physical, if she's ever tried to reach out and take that, or, if that's the point when the whole thing just fades out of reality, or at least perception that the person is seeing, right? Wherever she comes from, wherever she goes.
Camp out, because she'll do that. Bo, our producer, will go camp out Great Gatsby. See if you can get it signed by her, Bo. I think that would be great. Any of the copies you want to bring.
Imagine that. Signed by Ghost. That would be pretty incredible. That would be another first that you guys should definitely try and tackle. Go, Bo. All right.
Go, Bo.
So, Erika, you're up. This is one of your, and we've done this every episode. I've picked a sleep or an eat. There's Erika Sleeps, Erika's Eats, where each one of these locations either has an amazing food or drink item that might be tied to something strange, or the location, the land, or the building itself is haunted or has a creature, something along those lines. So the one that I chose in this edition is in Waynesville, North Carolina, and it is the Scotsman Public House.
Oh, I love the Scotsman. Give me some Irish food every day of the week. Irish, Scottish food. Huge fan. What is amazing about this place is it's in an old bank building. So this was an original bank building in Waynesville, and they take up the bottom floor. But I will say this, they have left this building so in the way it was. The original floors, the original walls, yes, they're updated bathrooms and stuff, but even the layout, when you go in, you can see where the offices were and where the tellers were and stuff like that. It is amazing. They have fantastic food and drinks, but there are also some visitors there. And they don't necessarily attribute it to a specific thing, but you can absolutely tell you're not just dining with humans when you're there. And I will say this as somebody who's had to venture into the ladies' restroom, there's definitely somebody there waiting for you as well.
So. I highly recommend the shepherd's pie and the fish and chips there. Oh my gosh. And the ghost we heard about was like a mason. Like he had the ceremonial mason robes and we'll walk through, but there are no records of this ever being a Masonic hall or anything to do with the Masons. But we all know that the Masons would come around to buildings, especially big buildings with lots of solid foundations, like a bank, like that. And so maybe there was some ceremony or something attributed there. Again, no idea who this guy is. There's no documented history of anything like strange happening in the building itself. Again, records are kind of spotty in the area, but it's cool. It's an amazing place. And it really, the way they've themed it, you really do feel like you're overseas and in the UK and having a great time.
Hey, that was pretty good.
Oh, I'm going to pretend you didn't do that. Anyway, moving on.
So, Erika, would you mind sharing what happened in the bathroom?
So, when I went to the bathroom, there are, I think, 2 or 3 stalls that you go into. A lot of the bathrooms you'll find in North Carolina are like family bathrooms or stalled bathrooms or, single bathrooms. So when you go into this bathroom, I was sitting there. I'm not going to describe that part. Nobody needs to know. But I heard somebody talking and I was like, oh, okay, maybe. And then I went, nobody opened the door. It was empty when I walked in and you could hear the doors open and nobody opened the door. So I heard talking and then, finished up. But before I flushed the toilet, I opened the door and nobody was there. And there was talking and it stopped when I opened the door.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, did you think it was cool at the time? Probably not. You're like,
It was not ominous. My biggest thing is I don't like a lot of, unfortunately, a lot of hauntings have a lot of tragedy, a lot of heavy emotions attached to them, a lot of negativity. Like when you talk about places like the hospital where people were sedated and electroshocked and locked up and, you get a lot of heaviness. There's just a residual leftover negative emotion. And you don't get that in this place. I mean, you can tell other things are there, but I didn't get that. But it was very interesting hearing this little chatty conversation. I couldn't make out what they were saying, but I was like, wait a minute, the door didn't open. Oh, cool. This is awesome. And then checked. And anyway, I was alone. I use that term very loosely, using quotation marks, because I didn't think I was very alone. And then I was like, okay, I'm done. Wash my hands, go to sit down. My husband's like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, just hoping whatever's in the bathroom doesn't come home with us. Chatty Cathy in there.
I mean, you guys, that's a good point.
I
mean, Mark for years has gone to really strange locations, and as far as taking things home and trying to avoid doing that, has that ever happened to you, Erika?
Oh, yeah. No, see, unlike Mark, who behind him, if you're looking at the video, is a doll that's sitting on the chair. Yeah, that's more than a doll right there. We spotted it when we both went to this antique store. He did rescue that doll. It has a whole separate story. However, he will bring these things like Clem over there that's left over from his haunted house. So Mark is totally willing to bring these things home. I think he relied a lot on the fact that Carrie used to be sort of a lodestone and things wouldn't happen around her. That has since changed. I have an iron necklace that I wear all the time. I have different rocks and gems and stuff like that I take with me. I'm very, very careful because it's very easy for things to come home. And I had a lot of experiences with that when I was younger. So now I'm like, nope. And if it gets too negative, I don't want to go anywhere near it because I don't want it to come home. And I also just don't want to absorb that energy.
Yeah. Yeah, I can understand that. I mean, it sounds like another book, huh, Erika? Erika's younger years.
How to be terrified as a child and the Sixth Sense be real life.
Oh, gollies. Yeah. You're probably like, enough of that. Like to sleep, thanks.
Yeah, no. I remember when the first time I heard I see dead people, and I was like, yeah, no, I don't need to watch that movie. That is my life.
I know the whole thing. Thanks, bye.
Oh.
I don't know if I'm gonna butcher this. Boojum?
Boojum.
Boojum. Okay.
Yay.
Oh, the
Let's
Boojum
go.
is my favorite.
Yep, my spirit animal.
Yes.
Not since the Barden Booger have I been so happy with a critter as the Boojum. Erika, do you want to tell, which version do you want to tell?
I'm going to tell my the Hootenanny. Do you want to?
Yep, you tell that one. Tell that one.
So there are so many stories up here when you talk to the Cherokee about them trading with the old man of the woods and Bigfoot and stuff. They didn't call him that. They called him the old man of the woods. But there's a lot of stories about trading and stuff like that. So we happened upon a story where both the Cherokee and the settlers agree with this story. And it is about a Bigfoot, an old man of the wood, a Sasquatch, whatever you want to call him. And there was a lot of gem mining up in North Carolina. A lot of people might not realize, but that rubies, there are a lot of ruby mines and stuff like that up in North Carolina. This particular Bigfoot would trade with the miners, and they gave him a straw hat so people wouldn't shoot at him thinking he was a bear or something coming out of the woods. So it was like a floppy sort of hat. He would bring moonshine for the miners. Now, after he got them drunk, though, he would then slip gems into his moonshine jugs and take them away. So, payment, acquisition, very clever. I give this guy massive credit. But he had a girlfriend. And one of the stories, one of the legends is he had a girlfriend named Annie who worked at a local hotel that's actually was near what's called the Balsam Inn now, but that hotel that Annie worked at burned down. And what they would do is he would come into the basement part of this hotel, and she would call to him by hooting, hoo, hoo, to call to let him know it was safe to come in. They believe that this is where the term hootenanny came from. Hoo, hoo, Annie. So he was amazing, and he did that. He also traded with the Cherokee, but I'm going to let Mark tell that part of the story.
So the Cherokee also not wanting to shoot this wise man of the woods, the furry traveler. I like that term for him. I'm not going to even attempt the Cherokee words. That's why we have Kathy Littlejohn help us out, and a few other Cherokee elders help us with that in the book. Make sure we spelled them right and did them right.
Yeah.
And the Boojum, they gave him a medicine bag, so that way they would denote that he was a safe man to travel and could go into the Cherokee lands. Especially, there were so many tribes, and they didn't want him to. Oh, this tribe's not happy with this tribe, but he can go. He's allowed. So he was a allowed traveler. Now, the thing about him is the story with them was that it wasn't Annie that he was into. It was a princess, a Cherokee princess from one of the tribes. And they told him he could only come when he had enough gems to court the lady. They didn't want to mess with that. So the princess of this tribe, though, had either white man descended or something, because she had white hair or blonde hair, depending on the story. So again, he got the gems. The story goes he stole them from the miners again, or actually he traded with the miners because they were going down to town to get the moonshine. So it's still got the moonshine element, which I love, and still has the settler element. So these two stories have meshed a little bit. The only difference being the girl being a Cherokee and Annie. Now, the Annie story has kind of a sad ending in some of the stories, where the hotel manager got tired of this creature under their house, and the visitors were upset, the guests were upset, so he went down and took care of business, and that's what ended the Boojum. And that's why Annie still goes out hooting to try to find him, and that's her spirit out there hooting. And I think that's an explanation for Bigfoot calls. The ooh, the whooping and all that, as the Bigfoot hunters do. That this is, maybe they're still out there. Now, that, again, back to the Cherokee version, though, he was able to woo the girl. He was able to bring enough gems, and the Cherokee chieftain let him marry the priestess or the princess. And then she and he have descendants. And those are supposedly the white things, the grayback Bigfoot or the white-haired Bigfoot. And those are common in this area. How many sightings do we get in Western North Carolina, the Smoky Mountains? Now, scientific people like to say, oh, it's because they're developing the white hair. They've evolved the white hair and the gray hair to blend in with the Smoky Mountains, the smoke and the mists that are so common here that the trees produce. That would make sense because we don't really get a lot of snow in this area. We do up in the mountain peaks, but these guys are usually seen in the valleys and stuff like that, around the riverbeds. Most recently, one of the sightings was on the road to Highlands, which is just about 5 minutes from my house, and the Nottahala Forest. We get a bunch of sightings there. And again, they're kind of the grayish or silverback. It was one guy described it as a silverback gorilla. He thought it gotten loose from a circus. And then people told him, oh, yeah, that might be a Bigfoot. He's like, I didn't even put two and two together. So I love the Boojum. I love that he loves whiskey.
Spirit animal, moonshine.
Yeah. Loves whiskey and gems. That's Erika's dream. And I just like that
he might have both the ladies. I'm just saying.
He might be a player. Yeah. There are a couple parks near Waynesville that there's the Boojum Brewery. It's an Erika's Eats and Drinks. Oh my gosh, they're good food and all that. Yeah, Carrie drew the Boojum.
Yes.
So we'll make sure we get you that illustration, Shannon, for the episode. Man, it's such a cool story and all that, and then it tying into the white things. I don't think we could get better for that.
Anybody who comes up with a moonshine to get gems, I don't care how he went about it. Just kudos to him.
Genius.
Kudos.
Yeah. Black Rock Mountain is supposed to be his territory, and there's claw marks on this one rock near Pinnacle Park that look like claw marks. It's just, it's like a fissure down the side, and everybody says that's his mark. That's his trail. That's where the Boojum's territory is. If you go up past that, you're in Boojum territory. So, Boojum, boogeyman, it's a term, but
yeah. But he's our favorite, and gems.
Close to my heart. Close to my heart.
Moonshine gems.
I knew I had to pick that one the second I began reading it. I didn't know right off the bat what it was about, but the second I realized, I was like, well, this is one of my choices. And this next one was actually really an easy choice as well, because anything having to do with vampire and vampire lore, I am all about. Even on my last Patreon live chat, we covered urban legends, and there was a specific vampire legend in a specific graveyard that I talked about. And this one is called the Jarrett House Vampire.
Yes. And I just have to throw this out there because I'm sure he's watching. Stacy Brown, Twilight Vampires, Heart Your Face. That's ongoing. Okay, Jarrett House. Jarrett House is in Dillsboro. Me and him have an ongoing battle, and I like to call him out publicly whenever humanly possible. So the Jarrett House is in Dillsboro, which Dillsboro is a little small town that is a railway town. There's a lot of railway towns up here, and that happens to be one of them. The Smoky Mountain Railroad, we talk about that a little bit in this book as well. You can ride the Smoky Mountain Railroad to Dillsboro, or it's right outside of Silva and outside of Cherokee, which it is an adorable town. But the Jarrett Inn has been there. How long, Mark? When did it first get built?
Geez, that's crazy. The 1880s. Yes. I want to say 1890s. It's been there a long time. And
it was absolutely a hotel along this railway line. Mm-hmm. And it's right now, I will say this, new owners have purchased it. They're redoing it. I think it's opening. It's either open or opening very, very soon, but they're doing beautiful restoration job. So very soon this will be in Erika Sleeps, where you can go and stay the night at the Jarrett Inn. But let's talk about vampires. So there are many vampire lores, as you said, Shannon, from everywhere. New Orleans is one of the big places. But It's, vampires were very much considered sort of demons, as this creature of the night. But Mark, tell the story of how they decided there was a vampire at this inn.
Yeah, this is, again, we go urban legend territory.
Yes.
As we like to say on our show, we go in the Wayback Machine to 1788. So the Alford family moves to Dillsborough. It's a doctor, and he's got his family there, and they were apparently European royalty, and everybody, like I said, tiny town, so happy to have a doctor. That did not happen in the 1700s, even the late 1700s, and not in rural North Carolina. And they are just so happy we got a doctor. We're at war with the Cherokee. We're at war with everybody. The British are still in the area. War of 1812's coming. They didn't know that, but and there were lots of outbreaks and stuff. So they were just so happy that this guy there. But the story goes that the minister's daughter in town was very, very sick. And then she just dies instantly. No, like not a lingering disease, overnight. And they find the classic puncture marks in her throat. So we know what that means. And then the minister's wife saw a shadow figure in her bedroom. So the posse has to form. We got to kill us a vampire, right? That's just, there's no other excuse for this. So the town is now plagued by this darting shape and people dying right and left. And one kid says it's, this one is attacking his family. And when the grandfather is like, oh, it flew up over the mountain. So now parents, sisters, families, kids, everybody's dying. And the black form is all over. But then somebody sees it go into the Alford house. So now when they go to chase into the Alford house, Doc Alford steps up the door and he's like, nope, nobody inside. And then the sheriff's like, no, we're investigating. We're pretty sure somebody saw it go in here. We're not going to get a warrant because before warrants, we're coming in.
I was going to say there weren't warrants. I'm coming into your house. Like,
yeah. And it's an angry mob. What are you going to do? And so the doc's tied to the tree. He's fighting and all that. And they go inside. And apparently the upstairs bedrooms, there's nothing there. None of the family's sleeping up there. So then they go downstairs and the house level's empty. What? How's the doc? Where are they sleeping? Where's his family? But in the basement, they find the coffins. And Mrs. Alford is right there. So they're all vampires, right? And so they, according to this, not stake through the heart because predates all that. They hang them and then burned the house. Now, story is the doctor's house is where the Jarrett house was built on the remains of the burnt down house. First, there's some issues with this. Dillsborough wasn't a town in 1788. There was no railroad there. There was nothing. The railroad wasn't built. And the holes in the neck, the whole sleeping in coffins, that didn't come out till much, much later. There's just no way, right? That this is not oral stories of vampires at the time. This is totally an urban legend. This has been made up so much. The city wasn't even founded till 1884. I think the Jarrett House was just after that. So now there are no records of any house being there before the Jarrett House was built. There are no records. And then the Jarrett House originally was the Mount Beulah Hotel, and it was for the railroad. That's it. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, I will tell you when you go to Dillsborough, because I heavily recommend it. They have amazing shops. They have amazing Erika's Eats, stuff like that. You will see when you see the Jarrett House, why we say this isn't a place you go and just build your house. Like, it would need to be part of something like this railroad thing. This is not where you would put a town. Like, this was a railroad stop, a trading stop, a depot. The train station is still there, and it's now a restaurant and a brewery. So, and the train where the tickets were taken and stuff like that, there's a little restaurant in that place too. So when you see it, it's amazing, but it's creepy, and there is absolutely something there, just probably not vampires.
Okay, so last but certainly not least, we have the Leech Place. I hazarded to go last but not Leech, the Leech Place, but last but not least.
That would have been perfect. Last but not Leech.
I see what you did there.
You got me.
I love that. So I'm just gonna start off with ew, because ew. I mean, leeches, I get it, and the whole medical thing and blah blah blah, serve a purpose. You know, we're on Channing Tatum's butt in that movie with Sandra Bullock. But Mark, talk about this ridiculously large, terrifying creature and where one can find it.
Okay, well, you go through the Smokies. As the book goes, we traveled up through Cherokee and all the way around, and now we're on our way back through North Carolina, heading back towards Tennessee. And you're deep in the Smokies. You're right in the Cherokee, between the Cherokee National Forest and Nantahala National Forest. So generally, you take the Cherahole Skyway, which is a combination of those two. But you go through the town of Murphy. Now, Murphy has a lot of cool stuff. They have a great little museum there, the Museum of the Cherokee, and that has the statue of the Moon-Eyed People that is infamous, that looks like gray aliens and all that. But they also have a river walk, this beautiful little river walk, and it's a couple miles, and people are jogging it and all that. But if you go this one spot, it's a bend in the river, there is a sign that says the Leech Place. I love obscure cryptids, as we know. I love weird history, as we know. So I was like, what is this? And digging into it, there was James Mooney was this guy who was one of the first documenters of these settler tales and Cherokee tales. He would talk to these Cherokee storytellers and write down their stuff, but it's well known this guy liked to embellish and make them a little more, give them that grip. Yeah, like our old great friend, the late great Charlie Carlson and all that. So who did Weird Florida, one of my mentors. But anyway, he did this, and he wrote about this tale about the Cherokee. There's this ledge in the water, and when you're there, you can see it. It kind of it's almost like a mini waterfall in the river. It's like a break in the river. And the story goes that this is the area you could cross. This is, if you got to cross the river, this is the ford, because that break, as long as you stay on the right side of it, you're good. But what they said was the Cherokee hunting party saw this just big red thing laying in the river. It's kind of like down a little bit of a hole there. And they could see down in this deep hole, and then the thing just kind of like smoothed down into it. And what happens is they get close, they realize it's unrolling. It's becoming this big, long thing. And that's when it sprays up foam or boiling water, and it splashes right where they were standing. Thankfully, they had just gotten out of the way, but they realized that's how this thing washes people down, and it could eat them. And they realized it looked like a giant leech. And so that's the term, the Leech Place comes from that. Supposedly, several people fell victim to this. So then Mooney sends people there to investigate, because he's not going to go. And then apparently they say, yeah, it's there. We saw the thing. And apparently when they started reaching out and started asking people about it, there's a nearby town of Notley, and they have a Leech Place where this thing apparently travels through some sort of underground river, underground tunnel to it. Now it's got that marker there. It's faded. You almost don't see it when you walk by because it's been scratched out so much, but it's there. Yeah. So
if you want to go leech hunting on an epic scale, this might be the place for you. It's interesting to think, because it wasn't just one person running into it or something like that. It's been so many people running into it, to the point they put a warning sign basically going, don't go here. This is a bad place to cross, right? So it makes you wonder what that is, because in the past, giant squids didn't exist. Giant squids exist. So a giant leech could be a legitimate thing, unfortunately, for everyone involved.
Now, the debunk of that is when the water is low, there is a mineral vein down there that's kind of reddish, red and white maybe. But I think the Cherokee would know the difference between rocks and and a giant leech. And our
leech, yeah.
And our Cherokee storyteller, the two Cherokee storytellers that we checked with on this said, "Oh yeah, no, that's there. That is the thing." And and they said, just be careful of the cannibal spirits that live in those waters too. So we didn't dig into that too much, but we're like, okay.
You're like, the leech is enough for now.
Was Erika staying out of the water completely in that area.
Yeah. And Erika was like, nope. And I was kind of like, cannibal spirits? Yeah, I kind of draw the line there. Yeah, I'm okay with noping on this one. So.
Yeah.
Mark joined me for a nope.
How many nopes can you pack into one area, right? And this whole upchuck situation, it reminds me a lot of Jeff Goldblum in The Fly, how he has to prepare things before, I'm like,
Okay, that was a visual, Shannon. I think none of us.
Good visuals. We're all like, good morning, everyone.
Anything that can burp up boiling water is probably dangerous anyway. So no real need for that either. So
yeah, no thanks. Big nope on that one. I agree, Erika. Totally.
Triple nope out of that area.
Triple stamp the double stamp on that one. Yeah, we're gonna go and do that. Yeah. Well, guys, I mean, that culminates all of our party talk with this book. Hopefully, as it sounds like there's another one coming, and then another triple stack on this triple stack for that book. So please let everyone know where to find you guys, the podcast, and the book, and all of your books, of course. Mark, what you lovingly said yesterday was gobbledygook, which is gobbledygook in and of itself to say that.
Well, I will say you can find almost everything at eerietravels.com. We list all of our events, where we're going to be. There's links to buy the book. You can buy it personalized off of eerietravels.com, or go to the publisher's website, which is the 4horsemen.com. And my dogs just notified us of a giant leech approaching. You can find us, the book at the 4horsemen.com, and you can find our podcast anywhere podcasts are listed, including YouTube. You can see some of the videos. More of those will be coming out from us. And Mark's books you can find at Cracker Barrels and Walgreens across the entire Southeast region. Or you can go to your local bookstores and your local, anywhere books are sold, or libraries, and request the Eerie Travels books or the Mark Muncy, Eerie, Florida, Creepy, Florida, Freaky, Florida, and Eerie, Appalachia.
Yeah. And that's you can find us just about anywhere, gang. That's the easy way to do it. So
yeah. And we Shannon always like to say something as we're wrapping our show. So I don't know if Mark wants to throw that in before you wrap.
Oh yeah, no, we like to always just give a little summary of things, and I usually do a quick little, as you're traveling, just be careful when you're walking the roads and looking down those deep hollers. Just keep your eyes open, document anything you see, and as always be careful of leeches, vampires, ghosts, Bigfoot, Dark Aggie, so many monsters we talk about in this book. And we'll see you on the other side.